Welcome back to the Meeting of Minds podcast. So today I've got part two of my chat with the fabulous Carrie Holt. And if you remember in the first, in part one, we talked about Carrie's journey to where she is today. We talked about the health issues she experienced that led her to understand that she was living out of alignment with her purpose, and enabled her to do the work that helped bring herself back into alignment. And that's what we're going to talk about today in part two. We're going to talk about who we are and what is our purpose. Carrie, welcome back.
Hi.
Hi.
To see you again.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to pretend that we didn't just record the first one, because we did just record the first one. I always think it's really funny when people to pretend, so we're not going to do that. But thank you so much for still being here, and let's do this part, which is a really great follow-on from our first chat. So tell me about, so we talked, we got up to in part one, you discovering you were HSP as well as an empath, and you're now, you do a corporate job as well as running your business, but somewhere along the way in your journey to from being really ill to where you are now, I guess there's had to be a discovery, because I think you did mention it. There had to be a discovery of who you really are and what is your purpose.
Yeah, there was. It wasn't like immediate.
Yeah.
It was following what I enjoyed. So I knew that my career was definitely not in alignment. I mean, I was sick. I wasn't happy. It wasn't fulfilling. So I just decided to take the leap and join a coaching program for a health coaching program for nutrition, because I was really into obviously healthy eating, because my journey had led me there.
Yeah.
And that's when I was introduced to coaching. And as I started coaching people, I was helping people, but it felt good. I felt good. And I really was starting tuning into my intuition and that gift of being able to sense people's energy and where they need to go, need to go and how to guide them.
Yeah. Yeah, because coaching is very much a two-way thing, a two-way relationship, isn't it? Because like you said, you were coaching people and you were helping them feel good, but it was also making you feel good to be doing the work you were doing, helping them, because you were following your purpose.
Yeah. And that was a journey. Like I said, I had the business, but then I was like burning out again, and I tried to let it go, but I couldn't.
Okay. Yeah. You couldn't let go of that business that you were building.
Right. And that's so that mission to help others and to guide people was always within my heart, and I couldn't let it go. But I will say that that's just one part of my purpose, right? I think we all have multiple purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like how we show up. So who are we? Yes. What do we believe in? What do we stand for?
Yeah.
And how do we bring that out into the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Sorry. And I would just add that a friend of mine would always add to that. So what do we stand for? And also, what do we stand against? Sorry, that's what I was about to say. That reminded me that, because she always says that. So yeah, who are we in a wider sense? Because I think a lot of people will identify themselves as who they are as being their job or their career, whereas actually that's only part of our life, really. I mean, for some people it's a bigger part, but there's much more to us than just that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because part of my purpose is raising a kind, spiritually conscious child.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and to be of service, is a purpose. How I do it is more like my soul mission. Like, that's how I see it.
Okay. Interesting.
Having like thinking that you have to find your life purpose can be intimidating.
Yeah, it really can.
And it's different for all of us. Like you said, it's just, it doesn't have to be your career or your job. It's just how you show up.
Yeah. Because actually that puts a lot of pressure on the job as well. If we think that is what we're about and all we're about, then no wonder we get pissed off at our jobs in a way, you know. Because there should be hopefully, you know, there is a lot in our life that is away from work.
So people, like a lot of people, especially here in the US, they'll try to tie your identity to your work. And like it's funny, but like when people would, like I meet people, they would always like, what do you do? And I would always go, for fun.
I like that. Like, I love that. Yeah.
You want to do for fun? Like, what am I about? Because there's more to life than work.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope so. Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's just always interesting because I get that question so much. And now I'll talk about my business, but it's not 100% who I am or my entire purpose in life.
Yeah.
Like I care about the planet. So I try to do things, you know, to keep our earth clean and just contribute to that. And recognizing those little things that we like to do and how we are trying to better the world, that's part of our purpose.
Yeah. And do you think who we are is our purpose, or that they're slightly, our purpose is part of who we are? I think maybe they're very interlinked, aren't they?
Yeah. So there's who we are.
Yeah.
And then our purpose is how we experience the world as who we are.
Right. And I know finding out who I was after I'd had my breakdown and all my therapy, that was a big piece of work that I had to do because I had no idea. How did you find it?
Through a lot of the same work and trial and error.
Yeah.
So I worked with coaches, and then, like I said, I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of journaling.
Yeah.
And disconnecting from outside people's thoughts and what they think.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is taking us back a little bit to what we were saying in part one about expectations and working so hard because that's what we thought was expected.
Yeah. And you start asking myself, okay, so if there's something I should be doing, who says? Says who?
Exactly. Oh, so you're going to get me on one of my little soapboxes now, but I think, you know, all the shoulds about, you know, this is the way you should be, this is the way you should look, this is the way you should dress, this is how you should live your life. All those shoulds come from outside, come from external voices, media, our families, generational conditioning, all of those things build up to make us feel like we should do all of these things. But like you say, where it's not like an objective marker that, you know, this is what you should be, and when you reach this, you've sort of you've got there. Because so we are trying to be who we think we should be when there is actually no way of achieving that, because there's no, you can't measure it.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely on a no-win road, like all the time that you're in that mindset.
Yeah, you're like chasing something that you may have never wanted if you just
you're chasing something exactly that you may never have wanted, and because it's not something definable, you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
So actually, if we can come inside and listen to our heart, our inner wise woman, our intuition, all those little voices inside us, little nudges that can help us work out for ourselves what matters to us, what we stand for, what we stand against, what is important, who we are, then for me, that is where alignment is all about.
Yeah. And when you're in alignment and you know who you are, your purpose will just be obvious. I won't say like you'll have to find it a little bit, but you're going to live your purpose. Because if you're like out there chasing the, like, what's my life purpose? What am I supposed to do for work? And you don't know yourself, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. So do you think, I mean, this is, you know, this is me thinking on the spot here, but do you think it's a bit like you have to start with who you are to then become in alignment with who you are? So finding out who you are brings you in alignment because you are now aware of who you are and you are living the truth of who you are. So your purpose sort of slots into place then because you're in alignment.
Yeah. So in my program, that's first we align with our authentic selves, and then we can move into our purpose.
Yeah. Because it's just, I don't see how it's possible to find your purpose when you're not in alignment with your true self.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I just don't think it can work that way around. Do you?
It's going to be very hard, and you're going to spend a lot of time, maybe money, and you're not going to get what you were seeking.
Yeah. Which is another little soapbox thing of mine about coaches who will say, yeah, I'll help you find your purpose. But you can't, it's not, you don't, it's not just a series of questions and there you go, that's your purpose. It's much deeper than that.
Yeah, it's a lot of, you have to look at your conditioning, like your expectations, your mindset, how are you living? And then you have to have the courage to be able to stand in what your truth and make those changes.
Yeah. Stand in your truth. Yeah.
And society and people around you might be like, what? Like just a simple example is like around here, when you have a kid, you got to load up their schedule, right? You got to be soccer mom. Well, guess what? That doesn't align for me. It burns me out. My son, when I check in with him, like he does individual stuff, but I'm like, no, we're not doing it. Well, and you go somewhere and they're like, well, what does your kid do? I'm like, well, we skateboard a little bit, we surf, likes to play games. And then they're like, well, what about this? Sorry, and everyone is happy. Like I have a very good, happy, healthy child.
Yeah. And I think fulfilling your schedule is perhaps a bit more a thing in the US, but it's definitely a thing here as well, but perhaps not to such a great extent. But it is definitely a thing. And come home from school and it's piano practice and homework and one night it's football, another night it's judo, another night it's something else, it's craft club and this. And my kids have rebelled against that all the way through school and have not done much at all, because for me it wasn't, they didn't want to do it. If they'd wanted to do it, then that would be fine, but they didn't want to do it. After they've been at school all day, it's so much stimulation for them. They want to come home. They've always come straight home, always wanted to come straight home and just go
yes.
and decompress once they get home. And that's always been what they've wanted to do and what they've needed to do. So I've let that happen, and I have to say it has taken quite a lot for me to not feel like I'm failing.
I understand completely. Like, I had my son, he was doing, when he was little, like kindergarten age, he was doing Kung Fu. And he was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. And then I was like, well, you have to do something. How are you going to find out? And then finally I was like, you know what? He doesn't have to do it. And he gradually, he finds things. He's like, oh, I want to try making flies for fishing. I want to. And then you just start seeing all this creativity come out of them when you just allow them to explore what they want to explore and not push them to do things because everybody else around you is doing everything.
Yeah. But you do feel like you're going really against the crowd, don't you? And
oh yeah. I mean, even just like school ended a month ago and I took them to a birthday party. They're like, what are you doing for camp? We send our kids every other day. We're going to go do surfing. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I'm like, he doesn't want to go to camp. We're going to relax and just do whatever comes up and we want to do.
Yeah. And that's amazing. But
we're always different from the whole group.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I tell him, it's better to be different than just like everybody
else. I always say that to mine. Who wants to be like everybody else? Be you.
Be you.
Yes. Yeah, be you to our kids. And do you feel that you are? I find so much lightness now in life being able to be me.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. I think too, and as you get older, it's more like, I don't really care what everybody else is doing or what they think.
Yeah, I definitely think age has helped me because of all that conditioning that's been piled on for so long. I'm hoping my children might find it not take quite so long as me, because hopefully they won't have all those layers of, I'm not saying they'll have none, because it's not, the conditioning doesn't just come from me, it comes from all sorts of external, me and their dad, all sorts of external sources. But I hope they will be able to be themselves much more and find it easier than I did. And I'm sure your son's
and
going to be
questioning, like like I always teach them to question, like, don't tell me what I want to hear, what do you want?
What do you think?
What do you think? How do you feel? And we try to teach him how to use his intuition, like, what's your gut say?
I'm doing it a lot with mine at the moment, to like, what do you need? What is it that you need, or what is it that you want? Rather than just, don't, because my youngest does have a tendency, I think, to say what he thinks I want to hear. And it's like, is that really what you think? What do you want? So, I mean, I only started doing all this work like a couple of years ago. Once I finished therapy, that's when I started doing what I think is more coaching work, which is around this, but I had to do it for myself first. So who am I, and what are my values, and what is my purpose? And I remember once a couple of years ago, we went on holiday, and for the first time, because my trauma response is, people pleasing and put everybody else first. and never me. So trying to work with that, and trying to be different. I said, right, okay, so we went on holiday for a week, and I said, we can all pick 4 of the days we're away, we'll do something that we all want to do. So we can all pick one thing that we want to do, and we'll all go and do that. Now, I would never have done that before. I would always have just gone with what everybody else wanted to do, and I'm happy if they're happy. And actually I wasn't happy, I was bloody frustrated. But and that was actually amazing. It was incredible how well that worked, because we all got to do something we wanted. We all knew that, okay, we might not want to do that, but our turn was coming. And what we want to do is not wildly different anyway. It's not like one of us, I don't know, likes climbing mountains and the other 3 of us can't stand it. It's not like we're poles apart in what we want to do. And that was really quite a moment for me to realize how well that works. So now I say to my children much more, okay, what is it that you need, or what is it that you want in this moment? Not necessarily you can have what you want, but what is it? Learn to understand for yourself what you need or what you want, and then learn to ask for it.
That's great.
Because I never did.
Yeah.
And I think that's moving towards this. Who am I? Who are you?
Yeah. That's great that you're helping them discover how to use that now.
Well, better at their age than 40, than 50, like I did. So
I know. I was a little late to the party as well.
Yeah. Well, but better late than never.
Exactly.
So you use all this great stuff all these great things and all these tools and techniques and all this stuff that you learned to work with clients now.
Yes.
And so this is part of your purpose?
Yeah, this is part of my purpose. It's part of my high sensory gift.
Yeah.
And I have various modalities when I work with people. I'm an avid, I'd say, lifelong student. So there's just different things I learned along the way. So like EFT, we use that for calming to clear blocks. NLP. I've also learned how to read Akashic records. Which
have you? I've had a little session in my Akashic records, which was amazing. Oh, so you do that, do you? How interesting.
Yeah, I did soul practitioner.
Okay.
Certification for the Akashic records. So there's a lot of modalities and tools I bring to coaching. It really depends on where the session goes, and the intuition guides me.
Yeah. So you'll talk with the client and let them, explain their issues, what they want, what they're looking for, and you'll start to obviously build that relationship, but your intuition will start guiding you into where to go, what modalities to use. Yeah. Fascinating. And what's the best, maybe this is a bit of a rubbish question, so sorry if it is, but what's the best thing about doing this work?
Seeing the person, their self-awareness, and having them trust and believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Because we're all whole, we're all resourceful, we have the answers within us. It's just seeing them tune in and just aligning with that. Yeah.
And do you said that there's not a moment, there's not an obvious moment where it just clicks, but there is a shift, isn't there, that's almost you can feel the change,
an energetic shift.
There is, isn't there?
A change of frequency.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, actually we're on the right path now.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing when that happens, isn't it? I feel that too. I think I perhaps feel it differently to you, but I feel that too.
Yeah, they're the ones doing all the work, right? I'm honored to just be able to support them and be that channel and guide.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's just occurred to me that maybe it might be because I have quite a curious bunch of listeners, and they might wonder what. So EFT is tapping.
Mm-hmm.
People might have heard emotional freedom technique, isn't it? And it's tapping.
Yes.
NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, and that's a lot about changing the way that we talk to ourselves, really. The language you use, the way we speak to ourselves.
Reframing.
Yeah.
Situations, visualization.
Yeah. But can you explain? Because I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure I'll be able to put it in words. Can you explain what the Akashic records are?
So the Akashic records is like the library of our life. That's what I call it. The library of our life.
Yeah.
And within those records, there's information about past lives. There's information about our divine gifts, our purpose. And it's really a place that you can tune into to get guidance and connect with your higher self.
Yeah.
So it's a different dimension. Like our bodies are third dimensional, our minds are fourth dimensional, and our higher self is fifth dimensional, and that's where the records reside.
Yeah. And you're guided into the records.
Yes. So you
with like using a visualization. Yeah.
Well, when you go into the records, you have to get permission from the person.
Yeah.
And you open them up.
Yeah.
And then the way that I do it is we'll ask questions.
Right. Okay, interesting. Maybe you do it differently to the way that I did it. But I found it was amazing. I found I had quite an experience in there with releasing all my feelings around my mum, because my mum passed away a few years ago and we didn't have a great relationship. But I found that really, what's the word? It was quite comforting, and it was a great release, and it was really what I needed. So that was quite incredible. And my guide to the Akashic records was my father, who is also not here anymore. And in there, my guide was his mother, my grandmother. And it was so vivid. It was amazing. And for anybody listening, if you've read Matt Haig's book, I think it's called the Midnight Library. That is what I imagine. So when I read that book, I had a very clear image in my head of what that library looked like, and that is actually how I imagine my experience of the Akashic records to look like. If that helps you in any way, Carrie, I think that's it. Unless there's anything else you've thought of that you'd like to share that I've not asked you about yet.
I feel good about our conversation.
Yeah, I do. I've had a great time speaking to you. It's been really interesting.
I know.
And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for creating this space and allowing me to be a guest.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Talking to you.
Yeah, you take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Meeting of Minds podcast. You can find this podcast in all the usual places. Please tell your friends. Please subscribe. And if you have a moment, I'd be really grateful if you could rate and review, as it helps other people find us and helps me spread the messages of empowerment and positivity that I'm really passionate about. If you want to find out more about me, you can visit my website at www.safeandsupported.co.uk. Until next time, bye.